Well, the Chinese government strongly condemns the United States' position on a chain of islands that are at the heart of a territorial dispute with Japan. The reaction came after U.S. Secretary of State warned Beijing over the control of the islands known as Senkaku in Japan and Diaoyu in China. Hillary Clinton said the area around the disputed islands in the East China Sea is under Japanese control. She also opposed any unilateral action that would undermine Japan's authority over the territory. Now, China's foreign ministry spokesman says Beijing has urged Washington to adopt a responsible attitude regarding the issue. Oh, so let's switch over to London, joined by political commentator Mr. Jonathan Fryer. Thanks so much for being with us. Tell me what is going on behind the scenes in your perspective with this Japanese-Chinese dispute. And now we see, of course, the United States, although they said that they were going to have a neutral position, definitely appears to be supporting the Japanese.
Well, certainly I think there are a number of things going on at the same time. On the face of it, obviously, what's happening is that there has been a dispute over the last few months about really who does own these islands, Diaoyu in Chinese, Senkaku in Japan, in Japanese. The Japanese are quite convinced they do. Until recently, a couple of them were actually the private property of a Japanese businessman. But in September last year, he sold them to the Japanese government. And in principle, the islands are part of the Okinawa province of Japan, which is, as far as Japanese law is concerned, definitely Japan. But China is in the middle of doing a huge survey of all of the islands off its coast. It's actually the second round of this happening, and has been investigating the area around the Diaoyu Islands, and indeed some Chinese nationals went to the Diaoyu Islands, which normally are uninhabited. And it's become a huge nationalistic standoff, really, between the two sides. And the Japanese, far from reacting coolly, if you like, to this interest of the Chinese in the islands and the claim over the islands, have also obviously called on their American allies to get diplomatic support to continue what they consider to be the status quo. But I say there's another level of things going on, because, of course, this all harks back to the Chinese-Japanese conflicts of the 1930s and then in the Second World War. And it was really striking how late last year in China there were attacks on Japanese businesses, even Japanese cars owned by Chinese citizens. So there's a huge bedrock of basically of resentment against things that happened in the run-up to the Second World War and during the Second World War, which is still felt by Chinese who weren't born at the time.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for your input. Political commentator out of London, Mr. Jonathan Fryer.